I want you to stay with us, and I also want to bring in now former Secret Service agent Dan Bongino, also former Navy SEAL sniper Ryan Parrott. Ryan, you actually witnessed the attacks last night.
Well, I live a couple miles away, so I actually saw everything coming in, but I wasn't actually on the scene for it.
Tell us about what you did see.
You know, from what I saw on the TV, it just looked like chaos. And to think about this happening in our country here, when we go overseas to protect it, it's unexcusable.
Dan, you know, I've seen you this morning. You were on Fox and Friends and a couple of other shows, extremely passionate about all of this. As Niger was talking, he talked about the success of our nation. I think we are a model for the world, and we always brag about this melting pot. But all of a sudden, something has gone wrong. Over the last few years, something at the bottom is falling out of this success story. What do you think this is all about?
Yeah, it's a real shame, Charles, and Niger's right. You know, you just wish we could break down these artificial divisions among us, but the problem is the far left has hijacked the party of John F. Kennedy. That party's dead, Charles. It doesn't exist anymore. What they want to do now is the far left wants to stick people into boxes. They pre-declare what the box is. You have to be identified by your skin color, union affiliation, your sex, your sexuality, and then they pit those groups against each other for a really sick, deranged political advantage. We're never going to be able to meld together as a unified country and as a people if we continue to leverage division politics for some bizarre political endgame that's shredding this country to pieces. It's a darn shame to watch, and I wish I had the power to fix it on my own, but you know, well, I don't. I wish I could.
Yeah, you know, and you have to wonder if that power is out there. We would have to assume, though, Niger, that it will begin with the bully pulpit. You know, last night President Obama gave a speech, and you know, I carried it on my show. And what struck me about this speech is while he talked about the police, he didn't talk about them in the sort of laudatory terms that he used this morning after 5 were murdered in cold blood. And I wish that would have been part of his speech last night, as well as the other things, because if there is any person out there, certainly any entity out there, it begins at the very top, doesn't it?
There's no question about it. And, you know, I've been one of the severest critics of President Obama, and I was actually appreciative of most of the tone of his speech yesterday. But then there was something terribly disturbing when he said the problem of racial reconciliation is not going to be solved in my lifetime, and it's not even going to be solved in my children's lifetime. And I was like, wait a minute, hold on. I mean, it was almost like a contrast, and it cut against the grain of what, for the most part, for him, was a pretty measured tone. I think, look, I think history is going to look back on this age, and they're going to say that President Obama, considering what the historic nature of his election, had a unique opportunity to bring our country together. That's largely why he was elected. He was elected, really, on his 2004 speech, and he failed to do so, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's the real sad legacy, you know, in this amazing journey that we've had as a country. He could have taken us forward, but I think almost everyone agrees that he's taken us back. Ryan, I want to ask you about your city, Dallas. You know, how they're handling this. I think everyone is applauding your mayor and your police chief thus far. But what are your thoughts now? How does that city, which I think really has an exemplary record with respect to crime and relations, how does it handle itself from here?
Absolutely. Well, you know, our police are working very hard to make sure everything's good, and they're releasing stuff as they know it. They're definitely doing their due diligence. You can see from the videos that these shooters, or this shooter, was moving tactically. There was elevated positions. There was some training involved. Sniper, you know, being a former sniper myself, I'm not so sure that I would call them snipers. However, they did have training. I could see some barricaded movement, but everybody seems to be coming together out here. We need to protect our own. These are our protectors here in our country. If we can't rely on them, then we're in trouble. So we're supporting our blue, and we love them.